Just picture this. You come home one day and you get a letter on your front door that says, "We are repossessing everything." You and your family are now on the streets. You have nothing. Everything you think you can't live without. Imagine really living without it. What would you do? Think about that, man.
My name is Don Sawyer. I'm probably not the guy you think of when you picture someone from Indiana. But I actually grew up here in a small town. I was a middle-class kid, but my parents were raised in poverty, and they never let us forget where they came from. I spent 2 decades living in LA, playing in bands and working in market research. But I moved back here to be closer to family. Indianapolis seemed like a pretty nice place, but according to the local news, the city had a big problem. Homeless people living in camps around the city.
Home sweet home it isn't. This homeless camp has not only alienated its neighbors, but it's also alienated the neighbors from the city. The camp has had
Fear of the homeless was fueled by a series of alarmist local news reports. There was talk of sending in the police and shutting down the camp. I drove down to Davidson Street to find out why. And that's where I met Maurice.
My name is Maurice. I began my journey February the 14th, 2011. About walking away from my life and living out on the streets. I tried to live the American dream. Say it wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't fulfilling.
People have been living outside in the Davidson Street area for more than 20 years. Maurice Young is the mayor of this camp, the largest in Indianapolis.
I live here and I help people sort through life problems and issues.
My name is Ronnie Blank. I'm 54 years old. I'll be 55 July the 19th. I live at Davidson Street and Washington Street, under a bridge with the homeless.
My name is Tina Marie. I've been homeless 5 different years.
My name is Mr. Prolific, P-R-O-L-Y-F-I-C.
Hi, I'm Cameron. I've been homeless for over 13 years.
I've been doing this for going on 9 years. I'm tired.
Well, I've been homeless for the past 10 years, off and on.
I'm here because I lost my job, and I'm trying to look for a job. I can't go to the library because I hit my sister in the mouth, and they abandoned me.
I'm Henry, I'm 27, and I've been homeless this time since May 6th.
My name's Scott. I've been homeless about 5 years.
Like I said, this time. This ain't my first time.
Doing okay. I got my sense of humor, and Maurice talks to me a lot, keeps me straight.
What I have is what you see that I have. Where I sleep is in this tent that's over my shoulder here. That's all that I have.
Maurice seemed to run everything. I watched people come into the camp and ask if they could stay. Maurice would welcome them in, give them a tent, and set it up for them.
I went into Wheeler Mission one night really drunk. I mean, really drunk. And they said, "You gotta go." All right. I had 2 suitcases. I walked them outside. I drug them down here to Davidson Street. When I first came down to the bridge, I didn't have anything to sleep on. I had cardboard. Then I got a tent. Then I got it together. I started learning some things.
While spending time at the camp, I met a group of young guys who were starting to make a film about homelessness. Sam, Adam, Alex, and Andy. Together, we set out on a journey to understand why so many people in Indianapolis were homeless. Why we could see no evidence of a city trying to help. And why all of these people were living under a bridge.
I would use the word community. We have a community here, and it's moving more towards family.
We could see right away everyone took their cues from Maurice. If Maurice was cutting it up, laughing and joking with you, everyone knew they could trust you. If he was more reserved, people would be more guarded. The longer we spent at the camp, the more people trusted us to hear their stories.
This is not an area where you just want to lay your head down for the rest of your life. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? I'd rather just be in a hotel or in my own house or a mansion or something.
The world done beat me up, you feel me? My family done beat me up, my loved one done beat me up, my friends done beat me up. Fuck it, I'm tired of getting beat up. If I do like this, I'm not gonna get beat up, I'm not gonna get hurt. And that's what a lot of these people feel, you know? And they all somehow become a family.
We are doing those things that need to happen to make a family come together and bond. What we try to do to keep them here is we mimic what a primary caregiver would be providing. They know they eat here, they know they eat at a certain time here, they know they can drink here, they know they can be safe here. So I think that's been our success of holding them so long here, because they feel that safety and that family thing here.
There is a lot of positive stuff about being homeless, you know, but there's also the other side, the other side of the coin.
There are some people that actually really like this type of life, been doing it for years. I just happen to not be one of them. Oh no.
It seemed like the camp was functioning at a remarkably high level. There was even a guy named Wes in a wheelchair who lived there. Maurice told us he was running a program where people could have their daily needs met, and when they were ready, he would help them move out of the camp.
As of June of last year, we've transitioned 61 people out of the camps.
People throw away a lot of stuff in the city, through the alleys and the dumpsters and stuff. And when I find good stuff, I keep it, and I sell stuff, and I make money, and I keep money. I made some money today, fortunately. This guy bought movies from me, and I made that's 8. And some change.
They are just good people, everyday people.
So I'm doing okay.
People who lack tools that most people would assume that they have. People who just need some special attention.
I haven't made the best decisions in my life. That's why it's hard for me to find a job. Whether the actual individual is or is not a bad person, they see it on paper, bad person. We don't want to mess with him. We don't want to hire him.
This is the land of the lost. You know, people think they're hard in the streets. I don't care if you're in a biker gang. I don't care if you a thug, you feel me, from Crenshaw Mafia. Being homeless is the toughest thing. Like, there is no room for error. There's no room for being soft, because you could disappear, and who's gonna tell?
I go panhandling every morning, Monday through Fridays. Monday through Sunday. Sometimes I don't. I go to church on Sundays too.
I've been in penitentiary once. I did 10 years. I got arrested in 1993 in Memphis, Tennessee. I had a 10-year sentence.
You were in the Army?
Yeah.
For how long?
4 years.
4 years?
Yep. I went to prison for the attempted murder, second-degree murder, stabbed my girlfriend in the throat. I hate I did that, but it's out of anger and over money.
I'd definitely say they ain't been fair, because, I mean, whether a soldier fucks up or not, if he gets deployed, he should still be entitled to something, as he put his life on the line.
What I say personally, how I feel, man, there's better things in life than being under a bridge.
Maurice saw his homeless life as a spiritual mission, his way of serving God.
When you do to the least of your brethren you have done unto me. These indeed are the least, those that are hungry, those that are thirsty, those that have been in jail. So I'm clear on who the least is, and now I'm very clear on if I serve them, I'm really serving him.
Like most of the people in the camp, Maurice had a complicated past. On December 23, 2010, the day after his wife asked him for a divorce, Maurice disappeared from their Indianapolis home, taking his infant son with him. Police conducted a multi-state search, finally locating him at a motel in Nashville, Tennessee a few weeks later. The child was returned unharmed. No charges were ever filed. But 3 days later, Maurice dropped out.
February the 14th, 2011.
And started his life among the homeless community. The Davidson Street camp is located a few blocks from the center of downtown. It's just one of many homeless camps in Indianapolis.
There's 44 different camps that we have marked on GPS. So that's 1 out of 44.
The Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department has a unit specifically designed to manage the homeless community. Sergeant Hipple leads the crisis intervention team.
The camps are almost like neighborhoods. Everyone's different. There are some that are very quiet. We don't have any problems, and we leave them alone.
Indianapolis is a city with a growing divide between the rich and those living in poverty.
What we have in Indianapolis today is what I consider to be economic apartheid. Poor people are outside and are never thought about. It is racial apartheid. There are no African American businesses in downtown Indianapolis, none. With all the growth and development, the restaurants, when the Colts play, when the Pacers play, there's no opportunities that flow to my community.
During the summer of 2013, there was a mounting cry to clear homeless people out of the newly redeveloped areas of downtown and to shut down camps like Davidson Street.
Before it got that big and that rowdy, the businesses tolerated it. But when they have to go back and get their outdoor eating furniture from the camp because it got stolen, that didn't go over very well.
When they threaten to shut down the camp, they never say that being outside is a bad thing. They want to put you different places. But when you come in large groups like this, it becomes a problem because you see it. People know about it. People respond to it.
In reality, some of it's play hide the homeless. I mean, we all know that. Nobody wants to sit and look at the homeless, but it is a fact of life.
But if they can break it up and keep 5 over here, 3 over here, 2 over there, spread out and keep a certain police team checking up on everybody, then it's not a problem.
Let's just say that the camps were disbanded. What then?
You can't. Where are they going to go? I have nowhere to put people. They got to go somewhere.
At the camp, Maurice kept a schedule board for when different church ministries would provide food for the campers. Every group would be there like clockwork. They covered 2 meals a day.
I'm the Vice President of Gideon's Indianapolis Southeast Side. We're about a 114-year-old international ministry, and people are going to relate, oh, I went to the hotel and there was that Bible. Well, that's us.
We bring down water, hygiene, food, donuts, sandwiches, canned goods.
We come down here and we feed them breakfast because, I mean, that's the first meal of the day. So, you know what I mean, to give them just something, you know, to to get them started.
Our ministry's name is Food for Souls, the number 4 sign. Every Sunday we hit 7 camps along the river. We offer them any toiletries that they might need, any clothing that they need, and then we also feed them.
Everything I initially thought about homeless people turned out to be wrong. I mean, absolutely everything. We know each other by name, and they know about my life and my family, and I know a lot about them, and we're actually good friends.
Why do we deal treacherously every man against his brother?
These people come down and preach to us. I've gotten so close to 2 or 3 of them where we're hanging out. We're playing basketball. We're going out to eat and stuff.
But not everyone liked what the Christian outreach ministries were doing at the Davidson Street camp.
If you've got someone that has mental health issues or medical issues or whatever, now to have all these different people there and adding a level of confusion, you might end up doing harm before you do good.
City officials, service providers, and the local news began to criticize the church volunteers as do-gooders, who were only making matters worse.
Hundreds of homeless live in the city's shadows, along the river, beneath overpasses and railroad bridges. And so-called do-gooders, individuals and church groups, make their Spartan lives more tolerable.
They come down here and help us. I mean, every bit of clothing I'm wearing right now was given to me from a help group.
They'll bring us food and bring us blankets, stuff like that if we need them.
But people who help the homeless with food, clothing, tents, and heaters only hinder the effort to get them off the street.
Critics said the church folks were only helping homeless people remain homeless. They called them enablers.
We are. We're right there. We're enabling them. We're enabling them to have a clean pair of socks, to have something in their stomach, to have underwear, to have toilet tissue.
It's sort of a disservice to the people who live there because what happens is they accumulate pizza boxes and spaghetti bowls and paper and all those kinds of things, and people provide tents, and there's trash, and there are rats.
I've heard of mom and bringing their kids down to pass out sandwiches to the encampment. And that's just not a safe environment for those children.
First, I would call the enablers sustainers. The professional individuals who get paid to do this job, they need to see it through the eyes of the faith-based people, because we're talking about individuals who come down here after they've worked 40 and 50 hours a week, but yet they still incorporate us 100% every week faithfully.
Steve Kerr is development director for Wheeler Mission. He is concerned about police and ordinary citizens who visit these camps.
Even just private citizens going down there and wanting to do good things, I think they're putting themselves and possibly their families in danger.
To local news reporters, Steve Kerr was the authority on the Davidson Street camp, though we'd never seen him there. Steve is the Chief Development Officer at Wheeler Mission, the largest homeless shelter in Indianapolis.
Wheeler Mission was started by the women of the Christian Temperance Union. And that sounds soul. I just love these old pictures.
This is Mr. Wheeler?
That is William Wheeler. He was a hardware salesman here in Indianapolis and just had a real heart for the homeless. But the mission was built as a state-of-the-art shelter in the 20s. First one in the country. My understanding is Indianapolis is unique in the fact that every shelter in our city is faith-based.
We do require men to either go to Bible study or chapel if they want to stay the night. Do you have to accept Christianity? No. Obviously, there are men that are Jewish, there are men that are Muslim. You can come every day for lunch and dinner, chapel, even, and you can stay in our day room. But you would only receive 10 nights of shelter every month. You have to meet criteria to get more than 10 days, and it's simple. You have to pass a drug test. Okay, so you have to be clean. You have to show us that you're looking for work.
If you're seeking help, if you're meeting with the case manager, if you're going out during the day trying to find a job, trying to get your Social Security in order, whatever that is, you're welcome. You can stay with us.
If you're not at that point, you're going to be sleeping outside.
At the Davidson Street camp, people could come as they are and stay as long as they wanted. We began to understand why so many homeless people wouldn't or couldn't stay at Wheeler Mission.
I tried Wheeler Mission, no go.
I stayed there and it was the worst place to stay.
I'd rather be in jail. I swear to God,
have you guys ever stayed? We had someone tell us today that Wheeler was worse than jail.
It is.
It is.
It is.
We met a guy and he says he was coming in and he was coming in with other people. He had his ID, so he got in. And people that he was coming in with didn't have ID, so they didn't get in. Is that anything that really happens?
Honestly, I don't know. Okay. I'm not saying it did not happen or could not happen.
They thumbprint you when you go in. They take all your possessions from you. You have to follow by their rules. You have to talk the way they want you to talk. You have to do what they say when they say. And it's just, there's no freedom there.
If you came in without ID, we would certainly log you into our system. We would put your fingerprint or your finger on a fingerprint reader, and that's how we will identify you and give you information on where you can get ID. And then say you've got X number of days. Now this is, I'm not sure this is exactly how it works, because I'm not a shelter worker.
Okay.
I'm an administrator.
Okay.
I probably should know these things.
Wheeler Mission makes attendance at Christian services a condition of having a warm bed overnight. And there's a word for that, and the word is unconstitutional.
We are completely privately funded. We receive no government funds.
They sure as shit do. Excuse my language.
We're offering them food, clothing, shelter. We don't think it's too much to ask to sit through either a chapel service or a Bible study. Yeah. We feel very called to this particular ministry. Jesus himself was a homeless person.
They don't really help you do much of anything except put you up for the night and give you some food. I mean, you're homeless, and in my opinion, they keep you homeless.
Wheeler Mission does a tremendous job. We are sorely lacking, however, in a emergency shelter that will handle couples, someone with a pet, someone that's gay, someone that has mental health issues, and someone that has substance abuse. I don't have anywhere to put them.
The city needs a non-faith-based shelter. All the shelters in Indianapolis are faith-based. One, you have to have a marriage license to come in. Two, you have to be a couple with a child to come in. You can't just be a couple. What's that couple look like? 2 men? 2 women? There's that variety out there, and it's life, and it is what it is, and those people are homeless too.
We've got to address the unsheltered. Wheeler already takes care of those that have, lost a job, that are ready to pop right in and start back out.
The homeless camps on Davidson Street and some of the other bridges that we're seeing in our community are just not safe environments or healthy environments for people. Camps are heavily involved in drugs and alcohol, illegal activities, prostitution. Tuberculosis is becoming an issue in the homeless camps. And I don't know what the situation is.
Although Kerr admitted he didn't know what was going on at the Davidson Street camp, the local news took his word as gospel.
The camps are becoming rat infested. Who knows what's going on down there? I just think it's a detriment to our community.
Homeless camps.
And what Kerr said always echoed what the city officials were saying.
Officers are exposed to serious diseases every time they patrol these camps. We obtained a recent report that 5 officers in the last 2 years had been exposed to tuberculosis.
Now, come on. Is anybody really reading this? Are they reading between the lines where they say there's a chance that they contacted in these camps? We've been going to the camps for 2 years. We hug everybody. We haven't caught anything. It's just people wanting to be left alone and want a place to live.
I think they're trying to make people afraid. And I don't think they mean to. I just think it's ignorance. But I don't feel uncomfortable at all. I've never felt uncomfortable at any camp that we've been at.
I really was not afraid to come down here by myself. I don't have that type of fear.
I used to think it was going to be scary and dangerous and all that, but I think we're seen as the good guys that come around.
Until the city comes together and finds a place to put these people, where they can be safe and be fed, then we're going to continue to do what we do best and what God leads us to do.
The city of Indianapolis needs to help instead of trying to shut everybody down that's trying to help.
The more time we spent at the camp, the more we wondered how people ended up here. What is the path to homelessness? How does it happen? How does one become homeless?
Now, the path varies on the individual. All the paths lead to the same place, but they don't start at the same place. Now, most people think that if you lose your job, you become homeless, but there's a process. Usually, if you lose your job, you exhaust your savings account, after which you then do friends and family. Then you head over to the mission, then they get on your nerves, and then you'll be outside.
How did you first become homeless?
I got relieved of my duties at the surgery center because I didn't have a medical degree.
What were you doing there?
I was in charge of purchasing.
I was a truck driver. I got a misdemeanor, OWI.
What's that?
Operating while intoxicated. And my first offense, I've never been convicted before.
I worked on my job for 15 years doing construction at a construction company called Core Slab.
Okay.
I worked there 15 years, and they laid us off and sold the company right from under us.
A guy was beating on a woman. I grabbed the guy, I pushed the guy away to keep him from doing any more harm to her. And I thought, I was doing what was right. But he called the police, they arrested me, put me in jail, and they convicted me for assault and battery.
I'm with a wife and 2 kids. Ain't got nothing coming in. Had to go. I had to go.
I had a house, I had a wife.
I lost my home, I lost my relationship, I lost my job.
And then you have the people who, disability, run across injuries of sorts, lose a job, spend whatever settlement money they had, and then they apply for disability, and that's a 2.5-year process. So it comes from a lot of directions.
Only thing down here, drunks, alcoholics, marijuana freaks, crackheads, things like that.
You have folks with addiction. Addiction will lead you to homelessness. You have people who are freshly out of DOC or incarceration. That leads you down here to addiction.
Out here, they ain't nothing but get you in trouble, getting you into drugs and alcohol.
Cause I ain't gonna lie, I smoke weed, because, it keeps me from trying to kill myself. This shit is depressing.
I've seen everything down here, man, to crackheads, to people smoking weed, to fights.
A lot of these people are alcoholics, they're drug addicts. I'm in my tent trying to sleep, I smell crack. You know what I'm saying? And my buddies are smoking crack.
People want to get out here and do this every day, all day long. Time to sun up, to sun down.
You are dealing with an issue that's squarely on that individual. That's their choice. That's not our choice to make. When they want to stop, they have to decide that.
Stop drinking, stop smoking, stop killing, and stop the violence. But if you can't do none of those above, then you plan to be down here. See, that's your life, because you plan to be here.
If you're not ready, then you probably need to stay down here with us, and we need to walk this thing out a little further until you get to that place.
You can't change a man if a man don't want to be changed.
You have people who have fallen through cracks through mental health programs. That leads to homelessness.
There's a lot of guys out here that there's no way they could keep a job, because they got mental issues.
Mentally disturbed, some paranoid schizophrenia.
I have bipolar, paranoid schizophrenia, stress disorder, and MR from child. I have MR from child abuse.
Fell out on the job. I died for 2 hours in Mobile, Alabama hospital, and God touched me and raised me from the dead and brought me back to life again.
80% of the people down here are mental health patients. And it's one of those, it's a tricky situation because people who cannot separate fantasy from reality to live with them and try to offer services to those type of individuals is very challenging.
Well, I'm already, what they guess they call bipolar, ADHD, ADD.
I've seen people smacking themselves in the face and pulling their hair out and shit.
Intermittent explosive disorder. I'm also diagnosed with schizophrenia.
I'm a cutter. I'm a self-mutilator. Say, if I may use an example, we come friends, and instead of, to the point I would hit you, instead of hitting you, I'll cut on myself.
Well, they diagnosed me bipolar and stress.
This to make the world go around in time. Time must go on.
Guess what? You don't need to be out here. You need to be somewhere. You need to be supervised. Because you're fucked up.
For 2 months, we filmed the unsheltered homeless community, and not once did we see a city official anywhere. So we bounced to the mayor's office to find out what the city was doing about homelessness. Sadly, the mayor refused to talk to us. Instead, the city offered Douglas Hairston. Hairston runs something called the Front Porch Alliance.
The Front Porch Alliance is an organization or an agency within the mayor's office that builds collaborations around different initiatives in our community, like hunger, abandoned housing, and such.
Okay, so that includes homelessness?
It does include homelessness. Of course, we work directly with IMPD, which is the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, and the police are probably the ground level for the city. Many times the first call goes into IMPD.
If a homeless camp gets overrun with garbage, it needs to be cleaned. Somehow they need to move because there's construction. It started to run through my unit.
I have received calls concerning homelessness here in Indianapolis, and I either refer them into the IMPD or into CHIP. CHIP is a collaborative organization that allows the community to come together and support them. We work directly with CHIP. CHIP is somewhat of our homelessness arm for the city.
We know Sergeant Hipple and his team, but we've not yet spoken with anyone from CHIP. We heard CHIP was the agency to talk to about homelessness, but they had no presence in the camps or out on the street. We still don't know quite exactly what CHIP
does. Yeah. I think that when you look at different intermediary organizations, Indianapolis is intermediary savvy.
Intermediary savvy. What does that even mean? CHIP's mission statement claims they do community organizing and advocacy to help end homelessness. But we never saw anyone from CHIP at the Davidson Street camp. The officials we talked to seemed uneasy trying to explain how Indianapolis handles homelessness. But one program made everyone's eyes light up whenever it was mentioned: Cot Force.
We looked at our top frequent flyers in law enforcement. Who's the guy downtown sitting in front of the Conrad that everybody complains about that's drunk all the time?
These guys are getting arrested 100+ times a year, and it costs this much for an officer to put cuffs on him. It costs this much for an officer to transport him in the paddy wagon. It costs this much for him to walk in and get a mental health assessment in the jail, when it could cost $12 or $10 a day for them to go into treatment, which is really what they wanted.
If I can impact those, then the department's happy because, in essence, I'm reducing the runs that the cops have to take and they can address violent crime. Our first 3 were banking about 120 arrests a year for 3 years in a row. And now one of them has fallen off the wagon in the last 2 years and probably picked up a couple arrests, but the other 2 are clean, sober, housed, and employed. So, I'm running -400, -500 arrests. Well, that's a pretty darn good stat.
We have a guy from Cot Force. He's been clean and sober for 3 years now. I think prior to Pathway, he had 89 arrests.
The program was a success, but the city still refused to fund it.
We have gone off after a couple of grants, and we have not had any success with that. We've talked to the city. There's been some interest, but nothing has ever really come out of it.
It's been conclusively proven, the last time I saw it in 2007 dollars, that if we just cut down on the number of arrests and emergency medical for the most chronically homeless, that it would save the city somewhere between $9 and $15 million.
The city passed on saving that much money. Why? We didn't understand, so we circled back to Douglas Harrison at the mayor's office. What is the difficulty in funding cop force?
The same difficulty that's inherent everywhere. So even as from a city's perspective, when you have employment down, or I guess unemployment up, our tax revenue is low. And so now you're into budget discussions. What do people really want to have funded? Which side of the budget does something lie on? And that's where we have to begin to say we can fund these things and we can't fund these things.
A lot of times with these decisions on where to put money and where not to put money has nothing to do with what you see in the headlines, has nothing to do with what people are talking about. There's other conversations, there's other motivations that are going on.
Was it surprising that cop force wasn't being funded? Maybe not when you consider this. Of the 15 largest cities in the U.S., Indianapolis is the only one that spends no state or local public funds directly on homeless shelters and services. None. Why doesn't the city just throw some fill-in dollars?
That would be a great thing to do. I would love it if you would suggest that.
There's just a different tolerance, especially in a red state like Indiana, for safety net entitlement programs. Just those words alone, like nails on a chalkboard. They just see this lazy bum on the street.
This is a community where people will not speak out. White, black, Latino, people just go along to get along in this community. Unfortunately, we've got leadership that's becoming more selfish, invested interest now.
When it comes to downtown development, the city is willing to spend money.
Plans call for 300 luxury apartments with 500 parking spaces and more than 40,000 square feet of ground-level retail space.
Price tag for the project is $81 million. The city will provide almost $18 million of that.
Cricket, anyone?
The multi-sports / cricket fields will go in this area behind me. Ultimately, it will cost $6 million to make it all happen.
Did you know there's a $6 million cricket field being built? You guys know that a $6 million cricket field is being built from taxpayer dollars.
$6 million what?
Cricket field.
Cricket.
Cricket field.
But we're in Indiana.
No, I say fuck cricket, man. What is that? This is America.
$6 million.
$6 million?
$6 million.
$6 million just to build a cricket field on it?
Yeah, $6 million.
Homelessness is increasing in Indianapolis. That trend hasn't reversed. What do you think could help the situation in Indianapolis, like overall? If there is an overall type of improvement that you could see, what would that be?
That's a good question.
According to the city, in 2013, there were between 4,800 and 8,000 people homeless in Indianapolis. But several professionals told us the real number was probably much higher.
We need everything. We need prevention. We need rapid rehousing. We need shelters. We need transitional housing. We need permanent supportive housing.
The first part of your question really talks about the increase in homelessness.
Right.
And we've seen somewhat of a trend. People that aren't from Indianapolis are coming to Indianapolis to be homeless. We have a contingent of individuals from New York City. They came here to be homeless here in Indianapolis because they found out it was easier to be homeless here in Indianapolis than it is in New York.
How many of the individuals that you have talked to, policymakers, how many have been to a camp? How many stayed a night in the camp?
There's been nights I've sat here in this van and cried with this in my hand and say, why, why, God? Why me? It ain't fun. It's not funny. You're one mistake away, or maybe two mistakes, but mine are misdemeanors. I'm a human being. I want to go to work. I want to make a paycheck. I want to get back on my feet. But nobody's there to help. Nobody.
I think I pretty much said it all. Did I miss anything?
As our interview ended with Doug Harrison, he said something that seemed to reflect the general attitude at City Hall. Helping homeless people is not something government is supposed to do.
It's unfortunate that there is a segment of our society that says it's the government's job to do X, Y, or Z. And there's nothing in the Constitution that says we are supposed to provide houses for everybody. In fact, we had a whole culture of mountain men, wild-west adventurers who ventured out on their own at the behest of the Constitution, saying, I have a right to live the way I would like to live. And if somebody wants to be homeless, they can, but they can't infringe on the rights or the laws that govern our society.
As the summer went on, business interests began turning up the heat on the mayor's office. They wanted the campers cleared out.
If you want to talk about Davidson Street, there's a legitimate complaint there from the business owners and neighbors.
You know, they would come turn the water faucets on and fill their water containers, but then they wouldn't turn the faucets off, which, you know, makes no sense to me because then we had to start locking everything. All the electricity has been turned off around the perimeter of our buildings because they're charging things, cell phones, iPads, all that kind of stuff. And we would come in the morning and they'd be sitting there with their, you know, iPad plugged in with their pillow. So we've had to lock it or turn it off.
There's a jail at the end of this street, a recovery center right across the street, and then on College you got a work relief. But whenever something happens down here, it's assumed that it's this camp. But there's quite a few individuals they would consider to be undesirable that can be doing that type of stuff down there. We will have no reason to use their water. We have our own water. We have no reason to use their electricity because we have our own generator. You see what I'm saying? But it just seems appropriate to them to say it's the people at this camp. They totally ignore those other three entities right there.
They came down here and told you that you have to move?
They came down this morning, Hipple did, and he said, we got till the 19th of this month to find somewhere to go. And his reason now is because the railroad wants to inspect the tracks. So he wants everybody out of here because there's going to be construction going on. And he said, if you don't, you're under federal law. You can be convicted of a felony, and we will throw you in jail. He said, we will be arresting people. Where do we go?
Looks like the city is finally going to make good on their threat to close the Davidson Street camp. They've posted signs giving people a week to move. Everyone in the camp is worried. For some, this is the only home they've known for years. Only Maurice seems unconcerned. He's been through it all before.
I don't think they will shut any camps down because we have a constitutional right.
About a year earlier, the city tried to force the camp to move.
I believe that was a Friday that they had scheduled us to move out. Leading up to that, there was a great deal of harassment. The police department came down regularly with intimidation and harassment tactics. CSX, the railroad officers, they came down. So when the day came, that was probably about 9 o'clock, the police came down and blocked the north end of Davison, and they blocked the south end of Davison Street. They backed in a huge trash truck, and it came all the way back to the center to the tents. We stood our ground. We probably stood down here for about 5 minutes. Nobody budged, and then shortly thereafter, the DPW guys asked us if we had any trash to throw away. We threw trash on the truck. Everybody looked at each other, and everybody went home. The veterans were just so overwhelmed with that, we hung that flag. And that's for us to remember that we took a stand on our constitutional rights, and here we still are today.
Maurice was convinced the city would back down again, but Sergeant Hipple thought it would be different this time.
We're talking about scattering this camp with no plan B.
I think you're a little off. There is a plan B. Is everybody else here has been homeless somewhere else before they ended up here. Right. This is not their first taste of homelessness, so let's not coddle everybody. They can handle themselves fairly well. Is it right? No. Is it the perfect solution? No. I don't have one. I wish I did. I wish we could find one, because we've been able to work with Maurice until this place, blew up, as they call it in the homeless community. So I wish I had a piece of dirt that I could say go.
Okay, but you said, is it right? No. Is it a good solution? No. And while those are no's, wouldn't it make sense that somebody gets some yeses going before they actually do the action?
It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. I've upset some people by saying lead, follow, or get out of the way. Pick one of the three. Right now, nobody's doing anything.
I think the stand now is to get away from the city's philosophy of hide the homeless. Take a stand, and when we take a stand, we'll create a win-win for them, for us, and for the police.
We understand that we have constitutional rights, and we understand where we stand with the Constitution. And we understand through that Constitution that there's a process for both sides to go through if they want any type of change. We know we're right. You know that we're right. Now let's just see how far you're willing to go.
Two nights later, 6 Suburbans with 16 U.S. Marshals showed up flexing their muscles. They were supposedly only after one guy. They never found him. When I started filming the Marshals, they threatened to take my cell phone for evidence. After Adam got there with the camera, they were gone in 10 minutes.
If, in a perfect world, say, everybody pulls their head out of their asses, they come down here,
TV news reporters began hanging around the Davidson Street camp, sensing that something was about to happen. Maurice was getting a lot of camera time, but his comments usually didn't make it on air.
Are you going to be allowed to say, get your head out of your ass on TV? Or
I don't think I'll probably put my voice isn't on
okay. Your voice is not going to be on there.
We'll probably snip it.
But the bottom line is, come Monday, you don't expect to see any changes here.
We'll be here. Now, I can't say what they'll do, but we'll be here come Monday.
Are you prepared to be possibly forcibly evicted? Arrested? You think that's going to happen?
I think he mentioned to some of the people here that they will be arresting people and giving them a felony trespass charge. But if what we've done here, if people were hungry, we've given them food. People were thirsty, we've given them water. We're giving people a safe place to stay if they need a place to sleep. So if you're going to arrest me for doing that type of thing, then I must be here to be arrested.
Maurice's plan was for all the campers to stay in their tents and force law enforcement to physically remove everybody, making a huge scene that would surely get national press. But the city and the police wanted no part of that plan, and neither did many of the people living in the camp.
There's Holy Family, and we've been trying to get in there. They are currently full. We've been checking with them daily to see if there's an opening, and we get getting told we're full. So
how long have you been trying to get in there?
About a week now. Ever since the serious whispers about us being moved out of here forcibly started coming down.
Suddenly, a new reason for why the camp had to be closed appeared. The bridge had to be inspected.
The bridge belongs to the CSX Railroad. Metro Police say that CSX has been unable to inspect the bridge for at least a year because of the maze of tents, debris, and biohazards under the bridge.
That's another important reason that we need to come in and clean up the space to make sure that it's safe for inspectors and folks in the neighborhood.
I think they could have given them a little bit more time. I mean, a week's notice is not really a lot of time. I know they've been saying they're going to do something, but now all of a sudden these signs come up and I'm not even sure, looking at them, what's a bridge cleaning? Is that not what it says? Bridge cleaning. I know they need to check it. That's what's been said on TV. And you can put this on TV. I don't trust any of the media when it comes to what's on TV.
It seems to us that only really one side of the whole story has been told. You know, it doesn't seem like there's been a balanced reporting, and it seems like the reporting that has been done has been on the side of the city and their agenda.
The story that we did on Tuesday down here, we interviewed Maurice, we interviewed somebody else from the camp, we interviewed somebody from CHIP,
but what ended up on TV, there wasn't any of him that ended up on TV.
Well, but we've had him on TV many, many times, more so than anybody else.
We try to do a balanced story, we talk to everybody we can.
Yeah, but it's not happening.
The city says the move, while difficult, is in the best interest of public safety for all, and the bridge people who live on Davidson Street won't be left behind, even if they want to be left alone.
Well, you know what? I mean, every time that we've done a story down here, we've always included somebody here from the camp, so I don't know how much more balance you can get.
Well, you include the camp, but it's supporting a certain angle, a certain point that really is negative toward the camp. Well, there's positive stories in the camp, is what I'm saying. There are positive stories in the camp. Your stories are all negative for the most part. We could go back. We could sit at a website, and we could sit at your website and go through it, and it's always negative toward the camp.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
That may be your perception, but my perception is that it's always been fair and balanced. So
the businesses in the area have complained for years about rats and rodents, trash and debris, and people using the area as an open toilet. There is at the same time sympathy and relief about the move.
I mean, I don't know where they'll end up, and I feel for them because they have nowhere to go.
But anyway, we got 12 minutes to get to.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I'd like to know more about Davidson Street, but my guess is there's somewhere there's a donor who has a property nearby who complained until they decided they wanted to level Davidson Street.
We own all the property to the railroad on the west side. If you go straight across from where we are right now, Angelo's is our business. That lot is ours, and all that property over to the railroad.
Are you trying to develop that property?
We are in negotiations with someone that would like to build on it, yes.
Is the camp in any kind of sticking point in those negotiations?
They are very concerned.
Is it going to be more condos, more capacity?
Yeah. That's so far, that's what the plan is, townhomes.
It's pretty easy.
I go home prepared with a sail, stronger in the glory land, and I long to be by my Savior's side, stronger in the glory land, Folks, this is the Last Supper. Maybe. What, you don't believe that? And Judas has left and gone downtown to talk with the Pharisees. We got anybody here named Judas?
People at the camp were trying to keep their spirits up, but a lot of them, facing arrest, decided it was time to pack up and move out.
They keep moving them and moving them and moving them, and that's not the answer.
You've been in the light. I can tell it. He's been in the light. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. Won't let the mayor blow it out. Let the mayor blow it out.
According to the signs, they say that tomorrow's the last day of this camp's existence, and you've decided to stay down here yourself and risk going to jail for trespassing.
Yeah, I would. That wouldn't be a problem. Yeah, you know, it's worth going to jail for. I would hope that enough people would see their plight and understand that there is something of value. You just can't kick the poor, you know, and get them out of the way. In any city, you don't do that, you know. And the losers will be the city of Indianapolis and every one of us.
People are going to be watching this in the morning. People that don't know you. What do you want to say to them?
Honestly, like, what they're doing is whack, man. I'm going to keep it real. What they're doing is whack. They shouldn't do this to us. We're already in a bad situation, but for them to kick us out like they're kicking us out, it just put me in a worse situation than I was already in.
Because it's a shame, man. We out here on the streets. We got veterans, college people. Man, I met a lot of people out here that don't even have no business being out here, but we caught a bad break in life. And it seems like that the city just want to persecute us because we caught a bad break in life. We all mess up.
I'm 4 months, 3 weeks pregnant. And like at this point in time, I have no idea what's gonna happen. Police Sergeant Hipple came down here and said that he had housing for the couples. They told us that we'll be going to a shelter together. And then when I called the shelter, they told us they weren't gonna take us because my child's not born yet and because we're not married.
The missions, they're not gonna help us. For y'all to get up there and suggest that anybody go to the mission, that is not gonna help. Because all they're doing is getting rich off of the homeless people.
So how many people are here right now? You said some folks have moved away. Would you?
Yeah, unfortunately, the scare tactics and those type things have pushed people back into park benches, abandoned homes, and back into alleys, which is very hurtful to me. But I would say roughly about 51, 52.
And it would be different if that was helping us with a way to get out. You see what I'm saying? It'll be totally different. I'll be understandable. I'll be ready to go. Believe me, I'll pack my things and put it in your car. You know what I'm saying? Take me to the house.
Meanwhile, our crew moved into the camp to document whatever was about to go down.
So we're down here capturing the story as it happens. I'll be up at 6 a.m. waiting for all the news crews to roll in. What makes you upset? What makes me upset? That nobody understands that these are real people. And this is where they call home.
So beautiful.
These are my friends. Is that why you're here? Is that why I'm here?
Mm-hmm.
Why else would I be here? The storm has begun.
We're told upwards of 50 homeless people live in this, what the city is calling a tent city here. Some of those folks are up already this morning. The city's given them a deadline of later on this morning to be out of here, but these folks say they don't want to leave. A week ago, it was 1 week, the city served them with an eviction notice.
This is a perfect example of the Indianapolis media in action. That's me, Adam, and Andy. Not homeless campers up early to be kicked out of our home. I know. All they had to do was come over and ask. Instead, they shine this light in our faces and proceed to report misinformation to the public.
Those signs say bridge cleaning. Has anybody investigated that?
No, I mean, just so you know,
okay.
I mean, I'm not here to be interviewed,
Right.
just so you know, I'm reporting what the city's been telling everyone, and
Right.
I work overnights, and so
Right.
we have other reporters who do that.
I'm just wondering why all the reporters here are so incurious. The reporters don't want to answer my questions. Nobody knows that these are going to be condos. It's all news to them. So we have found ourselves inside the perimeter. Who knows what comes next?
By the time the police showed up, most of the campers had already fled.
Well, this is really the only family I really have. Got kind of close to a lot of the guys down here. But my buddy, we going together. We riding out together.
The people who remained were packing to leave, moving to other homeless camps nearby, like the jungle.
That's what they call it, the jungle. That's where we're going. We're going down there and clear it out and fix it on up. And go on.
You're going where? To salt mines? So where are you going to continue?
Salt mines. Salt mines.
I don't have no place to go. Yeah, this is it. They're putting us out on the street.
You say they're going to put you out on the street. A lot of people think this is the street. This is
the community.
Yeah, the community.
We all ate together.
Take it easy, all right?
Look at your pretty face all night.
What would you say to people who say, you know, those homeless people, why don't they just get jobs?
Because, have you looked at the unemployment rate? We don't, we're poor down here. You know, some people ain't got 8th, 9th grade education. Marines was setting up a vocational thing. Trying to do something here. We got churches bringing food every day.
How are you feeling right now?
Want to go jump off the bridge?
Don't do that.
No, I'm just saying, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just talking. I'm not going to do it. And I got a little girl to think of, so I'm not going to do that. And then plus, God ain't going to let me do it anyway, so I'm just talking, but I'm just talking out my mind.
Why did you feel safe here? Why did you want to stay here?
We got a tight community. Maurice, he pretty well picked people to go into the tents. Kind of like monitoring, keep all the bad breath out.
Waste of time and money. City could have gave us some jobs instead of spending their time and effort and kicking us out. As taxpayers, that's your dollars being spent for them officers to sit there to do nothing. It's a shame, man. They call this place America. I'd rather go to Russia.
Standing on that street corner over there is the director of the Front Porch Alliance. The decision whether to make arrests lies with him and the other guy standing on the corner there. When there's an arrest, it will start with them. They'll give the word to the police and they'll start cuffing people.
It's a combination of CSX needing to come in and do their inspections, and people in the community, residents nearby, the business owners in the area have expressed concerns about public health and public safety.
Have you ever stayed a night in a shelter like the Wheeler Mission?
I have.
What is that like?
Work release, just like prison. They're fortifying it. We've got 2 metal detectors you got to go through.
The Department of Code Enforcement will be installing fencing in this area later this week, so this will be a permanent closure.
Anything about the timing have to do with this piece of property here has been sold to build condos?
No, I don't have any. The city doesn't have any plans to develop this area. If there's any development plans, it would be through a private.
Oh yeah, and it's a private, and it's been sold to put condos up there. You don't know anything about that?
No, I don't know anything about that.
You said that they have services that they can go to all the people that were living here. What we hear is the main service is 10 days, and then they're right back on the street. Is that correct?
I can't speak to any set length of time.
10 days. Is there any plan to help these people beyond the 10 days?
You know, the city has been coordinating with a lot of groups. CHIP, for example. What we're trying to do, you know, is address concerns here in the neighborhood, public safety and public health concerns, but also provide the people staying here with, you know, alternative living options that are more suitable for their needs.
For 10 days. In the end, none of the other campers stayed to be arrested. 4 homeless advocates chose to be jailed along with Maurice. Satisfied with the result of today?
Of course not.
I can't get everybody into permanent housing, I can't even supportive housing, so it's not a perfect solution.
Do you think the city's satisfied with today?
I think it met the goals that they wanted. Area under the bridge cleaned up and eventually fenced off.
They already told us we couldn't go on that hill immediately. The owner come and put posted signs.
Where you gonna go?
Guess we'll just walk around. Walk so much we can't walk no more. Find something to go to sleep on. You know?
All they did was moved everyone from one tent city to another tent city.
Poorest, most vulnerable people on the streets of our cities, and you all saw how they were treated.
Moving people around or forcing them to stay out of sight, which is what they're trying to do, is, I think, un-American.
They're people. What do? Do you just throw them away? No, you love them.
What would it take for, you know, an elected official to take up this cause and champion it?
Balls.